It's Gail with Everything Nash here with one of our favorites, Brandon Davis. Brandon, so good to see you.
Good to see you. It's always great to see y'all.
I mean, I feel like I know you. I don't really know you yet. I'm going to know you today, but I feel like I know you because of just all your presence on social media.
Well, thank you. We try to just leave it an open book.
Well, I think you are. So I kind of want to, because we haven't spoken before, just kind of get your journey. So you were doing something else and then you went into music. What were you doing first?
So originally, I was a fire sprinkler design engineer for a fire protection company.
Okay.
Far,
That is
far
not
from
creative. Okay. So then tell me what, like, I know you had an accident and that changed everything. Talk me through all of that.
well, the way I had always seen it was, watching my parents when I was growing up and kind of seeing like I had a cousin that had really been successful through going to college and getting a good job. And he'd settled down, had a wife and kids, and this really the picture that gets painted in your mind after a little while. And I thought that I had accomplished what I needed to do. I had a good job. I had a wife. I had beautiful children. We had a house. We weren't really wanting for anything. But in 2019, I had a turn of events that really just put a lot of clarity in my vision, and that was a wreck that nearly took my life. Because in that moment, when I woke up and was taken to the hospital, rushed through emergency surgery to keep me from going septic, it put things in front of me that I hadn't thought of before, like, how quick life can be gone and how so many opportunities can get left behind if you don't actually pursue them. They can be there ready for you to take, but if you're not willing to take that one extra step to actually grab those and use that portion of your life to the fullest, well, what's going to happen when you're gone? It's going to be things you didn't do. And I don't want a list of things that I didn't do whenever I get ready to go. I want what I want for my kids, which is to leave this world knowing I did everything that I possibly could to make the most out of the time I had here. And
Wow.
that was
So
what I told my wife.
is it a stretch to say that the accident was a blessing?
I don't think it'd be a stretch because at the time I didn't see it. And my wife kept telling me over and over again, look, I know you don't understand right now and you won't. She said, but one day you will. And whenever I look out from the stage and we're playing these songs and we're going to these different shows in different states and meeting all these new people, I start to understand it, because that there is so much that if I hadn't have had that one moment to really kind of put a fork in the road and say, look, you can either keep going this way or there's this fun new direction we can go and start this. If I hadn't have taken that fun new direction and really gave my life a chance to kind of grow in a different way, then I wouldn't be here.
And how are you physically? Did you recover completely from that accident?
For the most part, yes. Spicy food, even though I still love it, doesn't hit the same. But aside from that, the colon's patched up and the holes are no longer in the small intestine. So I think we're cooking with grease now.
Wow, I love spicy food. Okay, so let's talk about your sweet wife, Destiny, who I got to email back and forth with a little bit. She's lovely. How long have
Yes,
y'all been
she
married?
is. We've been married since May 19th of 2018.
Wow, so it
So
wasn't
we're
long
going on
before you got
5 years.
sick. Wow, and she had two kids already.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you have four.
Yes, very blessed to have a house that never stops moving. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so on social media, I know you can't always portray it, but it looks like you guys just always have fun. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then it was Destiny that kind of pushed you and started posting your stuff on TikTok, and then your world exploded.
Yeah, so we had tried. She asked me whenever all this started kind of getting into gear. She said, "Do you want to chase music?" And I said, "Yes." But we were fresh. I was fresh back into kind of getting myself adjusted after the wreck. We had tried doing stuff on Facebook and through YouTube, and there wasn't really a whole lot of traction there. We had, my grandma might comment on a video saying that she loved what I was doing, so I at least had granny's support. But there was there just wasn't a whole lot going on. I had some like smaller gigs that we had gotten at like Mexican restaurants and bars around town, but right in the midst of all that, COVID hit, and any kind of plan we had of trying to like make shows be the way we got noticed or anything that kind of got us out into the world aside from social media just got shut down. But she found TikTok. And when she found TikTok, she started noticing other artists that were posting videos and teasing songs and doing covers. And she said, "You really ought to try doing this." I was like, "No." It's like I've seen advertisements on Facebook for TikTok. I said, "I can't dance, and I got two left feet and dad jokes." Excuse me. I said, "Nobody wants to see that. There's no avenue for that on social media." So she begged and begged for, I guarantee it was probably 2 months, and finally convinced me just to sing on camera. Wouldn't tell me what she was doing, just put the camera out and said, "Look, I don't care what you sing, just sing." And it was probably a day or two after that. That was Father's Day 2020. Day or two after that, if anybody remembers this video, it was the first one that went viral. I was in basketball shorts, a cutoff Captain America shirt, my at the time adult league baseball team's cap, barefoot in the kitchen trying to get a bottle of water at like 10 o'clock at night. And she comes running up behind me, "Baby, baby, baby, sing Brad Paisley, sing Chris Stapleton, sing Jason Aldean." And where my musical background came from was playing at a little opera house that we had started out in Birchwood, Tennessee, where if somebody wanted to hear George Jones, you tried your best to do George Jones. And so I did my best to give my rendition of each of those artists. Woke up the next morning and that video had started exploding, and it blew my mind. I was like, "There's actually people that are listening." She said, "Yeah, and look, you're actually getting a following. So you need to sit down right now and figure out, do you want to keep doing this, or do you want to keep, designing sprinklers for the rest of your life?" I was like, "Well, let's see where the music goes and let's go all for it." And thankfully we have.
And then you got a phone call from Tim McGraw. Like, was that
Yeah,
just overwhelming?
I don't even know what was running through my mind at the time, because I don't know how many actual words I spoke during the conversation. You think about how those situations would play out of any imagination you might have in your mind about meeting your childhood heroes and icons that you grew up listening to or watching on TV. And Tim McGraw for me was always one of those. Like I sang the song I call it Barbecue Stain, something like that. I sang something like that with my mom in the car. I cannot tell you how many times until we burned out the CD that she had it on. And it was just a moment that caught me off guard. And I think I said the word absolutely as many times as I could just to make sure he knew that I was 100% in the game and ready to go. I didn't want to say anything but positive words to say how excited I was. But I think it was just the ramblings of a very excited individual that if you go back and listen, there was a lot of absolutely's and you bets.
And so I've interviewed him a few times. He's a fantastic human. He's just literally one of the best. Talk about what it was like being on tour with him. What'd you take away from it?
Really just soaking in all the experiences that he had to share, because you got to think he's had a career that, most would dream to ever touch. And listening to the stories he had to share of different times he's been out on the road, and, how he found the songs that really just made his career blossom and showed who he was as an artist, and taking all that advice and saying, "Okay, well, how can I apply this to what I'm doing and really show people like, hey, this is who I am. And here's the experiences that I want to make sure that when I'm out on the road, I want my family to be able to have these memories. I want the band members to say, you know what, I really enjoyed being able to go and ride on a bus with that guy. I don't want to waste any of those moments." And I think one of the biggest pieces of advice that I took from him was just really, he said, "Look, you're where you're supposed to be." He said, "I can't tell you how you're going to get to the next step and where it goes from here." He said, "But you're right where you're supposed to be." And hearing that come from a man who's been in this as long as he has, and knowing all the goals that we've still got to chase and reach, it really, really hit me in the heart.
And Russell Dickerson, who's one of my absolute favorite humans, What was it like being out with him? He's such a nice guy, isn't he?
He is the nicest guy on the planet, and he is goofy as all get out. It it's like walking around with a great big 6'3" smile. If that, he's probably taller than that, but he is like a smile from head to toe. You can't look at the man without it just feeling like there's good energy in the room. And not to mention just watching him perform and the life that he brings to a stage and to a crowd. He's he's somebody that I don't even know how to describe it. He's somebody that if I could pick one person to ride or die with on a bus trip from here to California and back with no radio, no phone, no other form of entertainment, I'd pick him because I know at least we wouldn't be bored for the 2,000 miles that we'd have to go, because that guy is he's full of excitement.
You know what? You're not wrong. I think I pick him too. Okay, so you came off that tour, you launched your own headlining tour, you've been releasing music, and you just had a #1 song. So no big deal. It's fine.
Thank you. Yeah,
Does it
it's been a
feel
crazy year.
that's what I was gonna ask. What does it feel like? Because when you were in that hospital bed in 2019, you could have never predicted this, the end of 2022.
No, if you had a time machine and told me to go back and talk to the guy that was laying there, you know, aggravated with everything around him at the situation he was in, and said, look, you know, give it time, and this is where you're going to be in the end of the year 2022. He'd have probably laughed in your face. He'd have never believed it. And I'm just so thankful, because there's so many things that could have tilted one way or the other. And thanks to being a very blessed and very now proud individual by what God has been able to give us, it's it's insane to think that the guy that was laying in that bed has taken the journey that he has from there to here.
What's your wife and your kids? How are they adjusting to this new life?
The kids, I think at this point, so we're peaking in on the 3 year mark. And for my son, I mean, let me clarify. I've got four, so I forget this. I've got my 3 year old son who's now 3.5. And for him, this has been normalcy, because he was a little over a year old, not even a year old, when this all started. My now 5 year old, I've been told I can't just explain who he is. He is 5 now, so he's a big boy. Granger is 5 now. And for him, he was a little over 2 when this started, and he's just kind of ran with it. He loves getting up on stage. He is all about learning every song. We'll sit in the truck and ride around and listen to countless songs over and over again until he knows at least the chorus, but he usually has the whole song down pat by the time we're done. And he has become my in-house hype man, because everyone sees him get on these videos, and they see him putting on this show and how over animated he is. And I just want everyone to realize that that's this kid 24/7. He has got more energy than I could contain in my entire body in just his pinky finger. And he is 90 miles to nothing. And then you've got Brantley, who he is the only one in the house right now that I know of that if I needed a backup drummer, he's got the best rhythm out of all 4 kids. He sits there and plays the drums in the truck while singing the song, keeping time. And then I've got my daughter who's telling me about all these songs she's writing down, because she loves 2 things right now, and that's writing songs in a notebook and drawing. And to know that I've inspired each of them in a certain way through this music, through this journey, and to see my daughter writing songs, see my son wanting a drum set, to see Granger having no stage fright no matter where I put him at to do this music or even to do his school programs. He's always shining out, and Easton has just broke out of his shell, and it's only going to continue to get bigger as he gets older. It's just prideful as a father to watch that influence them in a positive way, much like it did me when I was younger, watching my dad play gospel and country.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, one more question. I'm gonna let you go. What's gonna happen with new music? Are we gonna do an album or what are we doing in 2023?
So, without letting too much out of the bag, we've got, I mean, to say it shortly, a long list of music. But between now and July, I believe we've got at least, shoot, I'd say close to 16 or more songs that are getting ready to hit the world. I won't go into too much detail, but I will say we've been touring around the country on the Step by Step tour all this past summer and part of fall. And there was a lot of songs that people were requesting where they could find it. They would come up to us after shows or come up to us at meet and greet, say, "Hey, I've seen videos posted here and there, and I've never heard this song before, but you're playing it." And it was kind of our summer tour and fall tour experiment to say, look, here's all these songs. We're not going to tell you whether you know them or not. And if you love them, well, get ready because they're coming. So there, if you go back and see what we've done over this past year, you'll have a good idea for some of the unknowns that are soon to be known.
All right. Well, it sounds good. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for letting us come on and look forward to the next one.